Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian, and today we are taking a look at a really cool prototype early automatic pistol. This is a Schwarzlose, or properly pronounced Schwarzlose, model of 1901 toggle-locked pistol. Now, Andreas Schwarzlose did a bunch of different experimenting. The one gun that he developed that really hit the big time was his model of 1907 heavy machine gun, which was adopted by the Austro-Hungarian military. Also mechanically a cool gun. It's actually a delayed blowback heavy machine gun, water cooled. I have a video on one of those. You can see it in the description text below if you're interested. But he also did a lot of developmental work on interesting semi-automatic pistols. Now, one of his very first designs, and actually one of really, I think, his best designs, was the model 1898, also called the standard model. And this is it's a short recoil, rotating bolt automatic pistol chambered for the .30 Mauser cartridge. In fact, I also have some video including shooting of one of those, also in the description text. And that gun, I don't know exactly why it didn't take off. I can only assume that it was too expensive, and that's why it wasn't a commercial success, because it was really a very cool gun. Well ahead of its time, very modern, handled great. But for whatever reason, it didn't sell well. They only sold something like 500 of those. Now, this is the next major model that he patented and produced. The patent for this was applied for in the United States in 1901, so we'll call this a model of 1901. It wasn't actually granted until 1905, but that's kind of a side issue. And this is a toggle-locked gun. Now, the toggle works quite a bit differently than the toggle in a Luger, presumably because the Luger was still well under patent protection at the time, so he had to come up with a different mechanism. But this thing is also expensive and complicated, and they only made a small number of experimental prototypes of this model. What would come later is yet another totally different system, his model of 1908, which is a blow-forward unlocked automatic pistol. And those were mildly popular. They made a couple thousand of those, and they did actually sell, and you can still find them today without... They're hard to find, but they're not unobtainium like this thing is. So I'm not even going to run the action back here because you can't really see it well. We'll dive in and take a closer look at this and then take it apart and show you exactly how it works. So this is a pretty bulky pistol. It's not huge. I mean, it's a big gun, but there's a lot of mass and weight in the back here and very little out front with this little thin barrel. Unfortunately, this particular one appears to have sat on a wet cloth or something for a long period of its life. Now, Schwarzlose used these levers in a bunch of different places, and we have 3 of them that are disassembly levers, and then this one is a safety. So if you snap that up, it locks the trigger, and then down is the fire position. So assuming you're right-handed, yep, there you go there. Pretty easy to use, actually. This is our ejector, which is a little funky. We'll get to that in a moment. There are no manufacturer's marks on this, except a couple of German proofs and the serial number 25, which is here on the front of the frame, and also marked on the floor plate of the magazine. The magazine release is a heel type, just like on the standard model, the 1898 Schwarzlose. And the magazine is also very similar to that 1898 gun. Has a follower button here. I expect this probably holds 8 rounds, and it's a nice long magazine to hold the 30 caliber Mauser cartridge. That's 7.62 by 25 millimeter, dimensionally the same as the Borchardt cartridge and the Tokarev cartridge, but with a powder charge in the middle between those other two. Now, to run the action, we're going to grab it under this front lever here. You can see it's checkered under there to give you some grip. Grab that, pull it up, and back. And yeah, this whole big construction assembly comes out the top of the gun. It does lock open on an empty magazine, which is what we have at the moment. And actually, right now, I have the mainspring disconnected in order to make this a little bit easier to run. So this is cycling right now just on the striker spring. We'll show you... In fact, I will show you, starting right now, what's going on inside there. So we're going to take this apart by basically just opening up each of the levers in turn. I'm going to start with this one. Actually, we'll take the magazine out first. Something else to point out, This is the tail of the striker, and that's the cocked and ready to fire indicator. That is always going to be like that when it's ready to shoot, and that's really a lot of exposed striker. When you fire, that drops all the way down. So it's not uncommon to have a little bit of a tail sticking out that gives you this, it's nice. It's a tactile confirmation that the gun is cocked, but the amount on this Schwarzlose is really kind of ridiculous. Anyway, we will go ahead and start with this pin, which they're keyed. Once you unkey them, then they just come out. There we go. There's that one. And then we've got one right here, right there. That one's going to go upward. That one's kind of stiff. See if I can get this. There we go. That one is going to come out. There we go. That one comes out. That allows me to pull out this link of the toggle. This is actually what connects to our mainspring, which is loose right now. That'll come out after I pull the bolt out. And in order to get the main assembly out of the gun, we have to pull this lever at the back. There we go. That one's going to come around. And that lever comes out. And now this is the rear block of the receiver. So this is what holds the striker spring in place. Pull the striker spring out, pull that out, and now we can pull the whole bolt assembly out the back of the frame. Get it to that point, we'll pull the trigger to drop the sear. That piece out. And then there is our bolt face and our striker. In fact, I can go one step further and pull that link out from the bolt face. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the grips off so we can really see how everything works inside there. That grip. All right, now we have the whole pistol visible. Now you'll notice there's no big coiled spring in here. There's obviously nothing around the barrel. There's no V-spring in the grips like an early Webley. There's like nothing except this wound up spring back here. Turns out that is the mainspring for this pistol. So if we look in here a little more closely, we can see that that coil spring has one tail right here, and its other tail is right here, contoured and exposed inside the magazine well. Now this linkage is going to hook up here onto the toggle itself. So we've got this piece, and this linkage sits right there, just like that. And then the bottom link, the bottom end of this link, hooks into the mainspring like that. Oh man, that thing is really stiff. So that is what's actually putting motive force on the toggle. When the toggle cycles, the front of the toggle has to come up. That pulls this tail of this coil spring, that spring. It tries to wind that spring up, which of course the spring tries to fight, and that's what gives you the force to run the action. Now, a couple other pieces inside here. This guy is our sear. So when I pull the trigger, that sear drops. That sear is going to hook onto the tail of this striker right here. We got the firing pin at the front, and then this tail is, when you pull the trigger, drops the sear, releases that, and allows this to fire. We also have this piece right there that lifts up when I pull the trigger. That has a specific job to do. That prevents the gun from firing out of battery because that lug has to engage in the front of the bolt. We've got a cutout right here. That is in position so that that lug can rise into this space if the bolt is fully forward and safe to fire. If the bolt's not fully in battery, that lug can't go forward and the trigger is locked and won't operate. That's a nice safety mechanism there. And then you can see our ejector is this hook right here. It's this external piece, and it is going to run in this slot in the side of the bolt. And it's kind of weird in that that ejector kind of makes you think it would kick the cases out this direction when this pistol needs to eject vertically out the top. So unless they just totally messed up, which doesn't seem likely, that ejector has to be long enough that it's kind of kicking the entire bottom surface of the case to flip the cartridge up and out. There's our magazine catch at the bottom. All right, there you go. There is one completely field stripped Schwarzlose model of 1901 toggle locked automatic pistol. We know they made at least 25, that being the serial number of this one, although that could have been a single range including some other different types of experimental guns, but certainly this never went into any sort of substantial commercial production. It really is weird to me that the 1898 standard model didn't take off, and that for some reason he went to this design instead. I'm not sure why. Now, the reason that the toggle lock is designed so much differently than the Luger is of course because of the Luger's patent protection. So that element's not surprising. And it's actually pretty cool the way he uses this coil spring to provide the force to operate this style of toggle. That's pretty slick. In general, I'm not sure this would have been a very successful pistol. Obviously it wasn't, but I don't think it had the makings of a successful pistol at all. The blow forward in 1908 clearly was, and with that design he went to a much smaller pocket style pistol, getting away from this service model type. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Very cool pistol to take a look at here. As far as I have been able to determine, there's like 3 or 4 of these things in existence total. And just a really unique mechanical action. If you enjoyed this sort of content, please do consider checking out my Patreon page and subscribing there to help support the channel. People who do that really are the biggest part of what allows me to continue to travel around and find really cool pistols like this one to bring to you guys. Thanks for watching.